Yo, what is really good, my dudes? Today is Tuesday, May 28th, 2019. We got another RuneScape update for y'all. Today we see a quality of life week, largely focusing around elite dungeons and regular dungeoneering. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go.
Cats is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, to get started, we're going to talk about the elite dungeon improvements that have come out with today's update. So first off, all elite dungeon reward shops have been merged into one shop accessible at all 3 dungeon locations. Players can now unlock a bank chest upgrade for 750k tokens, which will allow you banking inside elite dungeons and automatically grants the 20% double loot chance on bosses without having the need to toggle. However, you can still toggle the chest for non-boss drops. Players can now teleport between the dungeons using the chest outside of each dungeon if they've completed the Impressing the Locals quest. Invention combat dummies can be placed within a short distance and in sight of any dungeon chest inside elite dungeons. Celestial and Gemstone dragons inside Dragonkin Laboratory have had their defense slightly reduced. Dungeoneering daily challenge criteria now allows players to complete shifting tombs and elite dungeons instead of just a Demonheim floor. Messages for getting loot in elite dungeons will now obviously denote whether the item's been stockpiled in your elite chest or not. You can now use the Sea Singers and Tetsu sword upgrade kits on their respective augmented items to upgrade them, and all experience and perks is kept. Spiky Rune Salvage in Elite Dungeoneering will now be noted. Elite Dungeon Lucky Charms are now able to be converted to work in other Elite Dungeons with the click of a button. Moving on to some Dungeoneering improvements. Solo Dungeoneers can now take on large dungeons alone. 2 new interface slots have been added to the in-game status interface. These all display lock melters and Dungeoneering outfits. When the lock melter is used, the slot will display a tick to show that it's been used by your party for this floor. Same goes for the Dungeoneering outfit. A party message will now show when someone has used a lock melter and when they've used the outfit skip. A yes, don't ask me again option has been added to the message received when you complete a floor. If you choose this, each time you exit with the ladder, you will vote to end immediately, and party messages go out to everyone showing which player has voted to end the floor. All the DG bosses will now automatically trigger the ladder at the end of their death, as opposed to some that wouldn't until their death animation completed. Remove the chisel spawns as they are no longer needed. Gatestone 1, group Gatestone and Gatestone 2 now appear as the item on top of the loot pile to allow players to easily pick them back up. Moving on to more from today's update, they've added a second action bar on Legacy mode. It's a small little upgrade this week, but as you can see, you can now place twice as many spells, prayers, etc. as you like if you're somebody who happens to use Legacy mode. Pretty straightforward. This is toggleable via the settings menu. They've also improved the Monster Examine spell as well as updated the UI. So now you'll see things like the monster's hit chance, your hit chance, their various different combat levels and attack rate, etc. This will be far more comprehensive than it was before this update, so hopefully that is gonna find some decent use. Next up, dig site examines have been added to the new area. Last week we had a rework to the dig site area, and many players wanted some of the different objects scattered around the area to have examines. That has been added with today's update. With that being said, we're gonna move on over to the rest of the patch notes and see exactly what's been added there. So let's go ahead and check it out. The Memorial Spring during the Children of Maw quest can once again be interacted with. Removed an extra period at the end of the Frozen Anima examine text during the Desperate Times quest. Players could occasionally come across an edge case issue when fighting Van Strum Klaus within the Dom Tower or the quest, where he'd freeze and be unattackable, avoiding any damage done to him. This has now been fixed. Chief Thief Robin will now correctly reference the location of the Ham hideout during the Lost Her Marbles quest. Doric will now hand out players the required items when choosing option 2. We should be careful after accepting the Doric's task 8 mini quest. Players who are partway through the Curse of the Blackstone quest can now also complete the Jed Hunter mini quest from the Ark if they were partway through that as well. Players can no longer smuggle quest items into Southeast Varrock by using area loot during the Biohazard quest. A couple of changes to mobile. Certain devices were having issues with the loot window interface appearing in the top left corner of the screen, so they've moved it to the center of the screen when opened. The mobile team have plans to improve this in the future. Fixed a bug with blocking progression through dialogue with NPCs if there were two chat heads displayed simultaneously. This includes places that they've seen reports about in the past, including during the cabbage section of the Hour Quest and during some of the memories during Tales of the God Wars. Fixed an inconsistency with the way View Info mode works for Spring Cleaner. The Salvage tab was functional on mobile and the Items tab was not. They've corrected this so both function identically. Converted some PC terminology on the world map to help interfaces on mobile. Fixed an issue on mobile that was preventing the stick traps in Taranwin being reset when you fail to pass them. Moving on, players that have chosen to disable receiving certain clue scrolls can no longer be spammed with a message saying the clue scroll has been dissolved. Fixed an issue that was causing training dummies to despawn too soon. Fixed a number of issues with how law and nature staffs behave with spellbook spell highlighting. Players will now never fail to pass stick traps when running over the trap with its Taranwin Quiver 3 or 4 equipped. If you're now the last remaining person in a clan and have a citadel, you can now reliably leave that clan, thus disbanding it. Players fighting rune dragons will no longer be warned about using dragon main weaponry when non-weapon damage is dealt. You can now right click on the magic skill cape whilst wearing it to change spellbooks. Using a summoning pouch with the same familiar is active will now renew the familiar. Players will now receive the correct amount of crafting XP when using the Spin Flax spell. If both players in a Social Slayer group have the Slayer 120 cape, there's a chance a player is allowed to reroll their assignment a number of times. Reggie, the Fist of Gothic store owner, will now recognize when an item is used on him from an adjacent tile. Adjusted the "you do not have room in your inventory for that" message in Treasure Hunter to an info box. Nairiki's crates once again have items in them when searched. An issue where new ports voyages were not appearing after game reset has been fixed. Players can now listen to or talk to Valerio as part of the medium treasure trail clue scroll to progress. Previously only listen to option progress to clue. Various items that hold charge like the Amulet of Souls and Cinderbane gloves will no longer give you 5% degrade warning when they hit 43%. Fixed Lunite Helm polycolors. Allowed Ice Strikeworms to be fought and killed in Rush of Blood while on an Ice Strikeworm task for Mandrith. Smithing an Elder Rune burial set will now complete the Elder Rune Equipment Daily Challenge. Fixed an issue that could have disconnected a player when beginning a new unfinished smithing item. Fixed blue glow issues with several NPCs who are using a new material system. Players who have the honed perk active when trying to complete Borik's tasks will now find the extra ores are counted towards the tally. Previously they were ignored. Patchy skin tones on a couple of NPCs in the newly reworked dig site have been fixed. The click box on Zaros during Fate of the Gods is now larger and easily clickable. Tweaked ancient ceremonial gloves inventory model. And finally, some text changes. Fixed Rune Metrics typo after a player complete the Desperate Times quest. Fixed a typo in the quest journal. Fixed a typo in Armadale Memorial during the Desperate Times quest. Major Mary Rancor no longer states that Dwarven Army Axe is a members only item. Fixed slight grammar error when looking at shard pricing for swapping scrolls and pouches. Fixed a typo in the construction skill pet achievement that stated Baba Yaga instead of Baby Yaga. Fixed a typo in Rat Burgess's dialogue. Removed duplicate text when talking to Banker in Evil Dave's Big Day Out. Party Fever Walk Override token and Carrying Stein's Resting token now correctly mentioned that they'll unlock animation overrides. Fixed a typo in a Curse of the Blackstone quest journal. Clock Tower quest complete text in the quest overview is now line broken after completion. The instructions for the Elite Desert Diary task I'm Super have been updated to show a sub-step of making anti-fire rather than anti-dragon potion. The continue button on the dual currency intro system at Castle Wars now correctly states continue rather than it being misspelled. Fixed grammatical error when a player owned farm trough has run out of food. A typo in the Prism of Loyalty examine text has been fixed. Fixed the typo the anagram medium clue I'm Crom dialogue. Fixed the typo when unlocking the Death Lotus Rest animation. And finally, in the damage control mini quest, Rosie will now show the word license rather than a misspelling of the word, thanks to diligent players. That is it for your patch notes. Links to everything discussed in this video will be down in the description below, so head on over there to do so and check them out. With that, I'm gonna wrap up the video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed and you want to step to it in all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I'm out. Peace.